They call it brotherhood. They call it the open road. They tell you it's a community of outcasts and rebels who live by their own rules. That's a lie. The modern motorcycle community has turned into a closed-door club built on image, not skill. Brand loyalty over safety. Ego over survival. Financial traps disguised as passion. The industry and the culture sell you a set of bullshit rules that have nothing to do with actual riding ability. I'm breaking down the 15 brutal truths about this community that nobody wants to admit. I've fallen for some of these traps myself. Let's see which ones you recognize. Truth number 1. The luxury gear lie. I see guys rolling around on $30,000 custom baggers with chrome everything, LED accent lights, and a sound system that costs more than my first car. Then I watch them strap on a $50 novelty helmet because it looks cool with their vest. The priorities are backwards. The ego got protected, but the skull did not. The math is backwards. Your brain is worth more than your gas tank, but the community celebrates spending 10 times more protecting the paint job than protecting the organ that keeps you alive. That novelty helmet is not going to do much when you hit pavement at 40 miles per hour. If you are spending 30 grand on chrome, spend 500 on a real helmet. E, CE, or Snell rated. That is the fix. Truth number 2. Safety system resistance. Here is where the purity obsession gets dangerous. I am seeing more riders disable or avoid safety systems such as ABS and traction control because they want that raw, unfiltered riding experience. They say it is for track feel. They say real riders do not need computers. That mindset ignores street physics. A BS does not make you slower. It makes you alive. On the street, where there is gravel, oil, wet leaves, and some idiot in a Camry who suddenly decides your lane is now his lane, ABS can be the difference between a hard stop and a slide into oncoming traffic. Disabling it because you think it makes you more connected to the bike is like removing your seatbelt because you want to feel more connected to the crash. If you want pure riding, go to a track day. On the street, use every advantage you have. Truth number 3. The self-reliance contradiction. The community loves to preach self-reliance. Real bikers don't cry. Real bikers handle their own problems. Real bikers take responsibility. Then someone drops their bike in a parking lot, and the first thing they do is post 15 photos on social media with a 3-paragraph story about how the asphalt jumped out at them. Some turn minor incidents into crowdfunding campaigns for gear that barely got scratched. The message is mixed. Either we handle our own problems or we don't. The community needs to decide what it actually stands for. Truth number 4. The training resistance. The most dangerous sentence in motorcycling is, "I have been riding for 20 years." That is not necessarily experience. That can be 20 years of reinforcing the same bad habits without anyone calling you out. The refusal to take an advanced riding course because longevity supposedly equals skill is a trap. I have watched guys with 2 decades of seat time lock up their rear brake in a panic stop because they never learned threshold braking. I have seen them target fixate into a guardrail because no one ever taught them to look through the turn. Time on a bike does not automatically make you good. Training makes you good. Take 1 advanced course a year. Treat it like a gym membership for your riding skills. That is the fix. Truth number 5. Group ride chaos. Group rides are sold as this essential brotherhood experience. Everyone is supposed to show up, ride together, and bond over the open road. Here's what often happens. 20 riders with different skill levels, no pre-ride briefing, no hand signals agreed upon, and no plan for what happens when someone needs gas or takes a wrong turn. It is a moving accident waiting for a catalyst. The rider in front is trying to prove he is fast. The rider in back is trying to keep up. Nobody is watching their mirrors. Nobody is maintaining a safe distance. Then someone panic breaks and the whole pack accordions into each other. The culture pressures you to join these rides even when the organization is terrible. That is the problem. Smaller groups, similar skill levels, pre-ride briefing. If that is not happening, ride your own ride. Speaking of financial stupidity disguised as passion. Truth number 6. The extended loan trap. The industry has normalized financing a motorcycle for 6 or 7 years, 72 months of payments on an asset that loses 20% of its value the second you roll it off the lot. Here is the math dealerships do not want you to do. Year 1, your bike is worth less than you owe. Year 2, still underwater. Year 3, you are finally breaking even. Year 4, you are tired of the bike and want something new, but you cannot trade it in without writing a check to cover the gap. This is not building equity. This is paying interest on air. The culture celebrates this as passion, but the economics are brutal. If you need 72 months to afford it, you cannot afford it. Buy used, pay cash. That is the fix. Truth number 7. The modification trap. $5,000 in modifications, custom exhaust, power commander, new air filter, dyno tune, all of it to add 5 horsepower that you will never use, and reliability problems you definitely will. The incentives are upside down. The community pushes the idea that a stock bike is not good enough. So riders take a machine engineered by people with degrees and decades of experience and let some guy in a garage with a YouTube channel convince them it needs to be faster. Now it runs rough when it is cold. It throws a check engine light every other week. And it is worth less than stock because no one wants to buy someone else's project. The outcome is predictable. You spent $5,000 to maybe shave a tenth of a second off your quarter-mile time. Most riders are not racing. They are commuting. The reliable machine became a maintenance nightmare for bragging rights that do not exist. If you want more performance, take a track day and learn to use what you already have. That is the fix. Truth number 8. The brand loyalty trap. Harley riders will not touch a metric bike. BMW riders think everything Japanese is beneath them. Sport bike riders mock cruisers. Everyone has their tribe, and everyone thinks their tribe is superior. This is corporate brainwashing. The community has been sold the idea that brand loyalty equals identity. Meanwhile, objective data gets ignored. Reliability ratings, cost of ownership, safety features, resale value. I have watched riders defend their brand through 3 catastrophic failures and a recall because admitting they made a bad choice would mean admitting they are not part of the club anymore. The loyalty is not to the machine, it is to the marketing. Truth number 9. The maintenance gap. The community has normalized not knowing how to maintain your own bike. Some riders wear it like a badge. I don't work on my bike, I ride it. Then they pay the dealership $150 for 20 minutes of work and $15 in parts. That's not rider culture, that's consumer culture. Motorcycles are simple machines. Oil changes, chain maintenance, brake pad swaps. None of it requires an engineering degree. It requires a manual and an afternoon. But the culture has made it acceptable to pay someone else to do it instead of learning. The problem shows up when something breaks on the road. You are stranded, you're calling a tow truck, you're missing the ride, all because the basics were never learned. Learn to do your own oil changes. Start there and build from that. That is the fix. Truth number 10. The collector trap. Most self-described collectors do not own rare bikes. They own 5 mid-range bikes they cannot afford to insure, register, or maintain. They are sitting in a garage collecting dust and losing value. That is not collecting. That is hoarding. Real collectors own bikes that appreciate, rare models, limited runs, actual investments. 3 Sportsters and 2 Ninjas that are worth half what you paid are not a collection. They are depreciating assets taking up space. If you cannot ride it or sell it, you do not need to own it. That is the fix. Then there is the whole mess of cultural gatekeeping and ego. Truth number 11. Displacement snobbery. I've watched grown men judge other riders based on engine size like they are comparing anatomy in a locker room. You ride a 600? That's cute. Real bikes start at a liter. You ride a 250? You're not even a real rider. This is insecurity disguised as gatekeeping. Here is what engine size tells you about a rider. Nothing. It tells you what they bought. It does not tell you if they can handle it. I've seen riders on 1,000 cubic centimeter sport bikes who cannot execute a proper emergency stop. I've seen riders on 250 cubic centimeter bikes who can outride half the liter bike crowd in the canyons because they actually understand corner speed and body position. The bike does not make you fast. Skill makes you fast. The bike does not make you a rider. Competence makes you a rider. Engine size is irrelevant if the fundamentals are not there. Truth number 12. The uniform contradiction. You need the right jacket, the right vest, the right patches, the right boots. If you do not look the part, you are not part of the club. That is the message. This is conformity disguised as rebellion. The whole point of riding was supposed to be freedom, independence, living outside the rules. Now the culture enforces a dress code stricter than a corporate office. You need specific leather with specific logos to be accepted by a group that claims to reject mainstream society. That is not rebellion. That is a costume party. Riders should be defined by what they do on the bike, not what they wear off it. I have seen guys in full icon gear who ride like professionals. I have seen guys in $1,000 leather vests who cannot figure out a U-turn without putting a foot down. The uniform does not correlate with skill. It just shows you paid money to look like everyone else. Truth number 13. The selective wave. The biker wave is supposed to be a universal sign of respect, 2 riders acknowledging each other on the road, brotherhood in motion. Here is the reality. Some riders only wave at specific brands. They will wave at a Harley but ignore a Honda. They will wave at a cruiser but not a sport bike. If the other rider does not fit their definition of real, they do not get the wave. That is not respect. That is selective acknowledgement. The wave is not a social debt. It is not a requirement. But if you are going to do it for everyone, or admit you are just signaling to your tribe. The selective wave is not building community. It is reinforcing the same gatekeeping that keeps this scene divided. But here is where the hypocrisy gets truly dangerous. Truth number 14. The road rage contradiction. The community preaches zen and freedom. The open road is therapy. Leave your problems behind. Find peace on 2 wheels. Then a minivan cuts someone off, and that peace evaporates instantly. I have watched riders chase down cars, kick mirrors, and punch windows at stoplights, all because someone did not see them or made a bad merge. The peaceful rebel becomes a road-raging liability in 3 seconds because the ego could not handle being disrespected by a soccer mom in a Honda Odyssey. Here's the problem. Riders are on bikes, so they lose every physical confrontation with a car. Every single one. You can be right and dead at the same time. Chasing down a vehicle that just cut you off is not standing up for yourself. It is volunteering for a catastrophic outcome. The worst part is the community sometimes encourages it. Someone posts a helmet cam video of themselves brake checking a truck, and the comments section calls them a hero. That is not heroic. That is dangerous behavior with a camera. Let it go every single time. Your life is worth more than your ego. That is the fix. Truth number 15. The identity trap. If your identity is defined by a machine, that is not being a writer. That is being a consumer with a hobby. Real writers are defined by skill, safety discipline, and respect for the physics of the road. Not a leather patch, not a brand logo, not the size of the engine or the loudness of the pipes. What actually defines a competent writer is the ability to execute an emergency stop without locking up the brakes. It is the ability to counter-steer through a decreasing radius turn without fixating on the guardrail. It is the humility to take a training course even after years of experience, because there is always something to learn. Competent writers understand that survival is not guaranteed. They respect the machine. They respect the road. They respect the consequences of physics meeting flesh at speed. Competent writers do not need to prove anything to anyone. They do not need the wave. They do not need the uniform. They do not need the validation of a club that is more concerned with image than ability. Want to be a better writer? Stop worrying about what other people think. Stop financing bikes you cannot afford. Stop modifying machines you do not understand. Stop disabling safety features because some guy on a forum told you it is more pure. Learn your machine. Practice your skills. Respect the road. Everything else is just noise. The community sells a lie. That gear, that brand, that attitude do not make you a writer. Skill, safety discipline, and financial sanity define competent writers. Everything else is just expensive cosplay on two wheels. Which of these brutal truths are you guilty of? Drop a comment and let me know. If this made you uncomfortable, good. That means you are paying attention. Subscribe so we can keep building a safer, smarter writing community together.